Hello, 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 hello. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the movement. We are the movement, a motivational organization here to educate minds, empower, nurture, and transform. And net, who are we? We are a
A
movement to
movement to
move.
move.
Yes, we are. We are a movement to move. We want to help you thrust into your purpose so that you can start living your best life and win. We want to see everyone living the best version of themselves. So often we go through life living beneath who we really are and who we're called to be, but we want to see everyone win. We tapped into a winner's mindset. We're sitting at the winner's table. We have winners concepts and winners information, and we want to see you win. Right, Annette?
Yes, and just like Anita just said, we are winners, and that's what I gotta say. Welcome, and we're excited what's getting ready to happen.
Yes, yes, yes. Our topic tonight, it reminded me of a conversation. Well, actually, you said this a lot on here, and we've said this a lot in conversation. I've often heard you talk about us having significant instances in our lives, and that there are some things that happen that we will never forget, and we can always give like a blow by blow of certain things like the birth of
Yeah,
a child or the death of a loved one or a tragic incident or an exciting incident, and we can tell the blow by blow no matter how many years it's been. And there are also some things that we choose to completely forget because they're so devastating and tragic. And I remember you saying so often that there are times that you forgot about certain instances in history, like periods of time that your daughters had to remind you of.
yeah.
So, and in our conversation, we were talking about how you said not if all of us, if not all of us, most of us can tell you exactly where we were when 911 happened
Hmm.
because it was such a disastrous event that it affected the entire country,
Yeah.
if not even most of or all of the entire world. We were all affected. It's like time stopped for a minute. The planes were landed and grounded, and I remember them showing the flights, and the lights started going out one by one because they were landing all planes, no matter what. They didn't want anybody flying at that time. And I remember friends of mine that were traveling. One friend of mine was on an airplane that was grounded, and Brenda Jackson, who's on here often, she was in Tampa and she was slated to fly out and she could not get out of Tampa. And so imagine a disaster like that happens and you're not in the city where you're from. It would cause you to panic
Yeah.
because the main thing that you want to do is get close to your family and loved ones so that you can feel some sense of calamity. You feel like, everything is okay. And so I'm going to open up our uh, presentation. One of the things when we talked about this, when we started actually coming up with this topic, I started studying it. I remember a couple of years ago, I actually visited um, Ground Zero,
Oh,
which is
did
what
you?
our topic is tonight.
Okay.
Yes, I went there. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. I went there with a client of mine. She was uh, she was there auditioning for a television show. So I went with her to the audition, to get her. It was, the family paid for me to go. They wanted me there to help her through the process. I couldn't really go in with her with the audition, but one of the things that we decided to do while we were there, I think the morning after her audition, they were all going to the museum, and she and I wanted to sleep in, and we decided that we would all meet at Ground Zero because we knew that they had built a memorial at Ground Zero. And what used to be there, as we all know, were the Twin Towers. And if you see in the background here, I have the waterfall. That is actually what is in the Twin Towers now, is that waterfall area that it surrounds both areas where the towers were, and along the sides of that wall is a engraving of every name of every person who was lost in one of those buildings. And people go and they toss money, they stand there and pray and remember. And then underneath all of that is a museum. You enter an area where you actually go underground because those buildings, you know, the foundation is so far underground. So what they've done was they've taken the area underground and they've built a museum where you can go and you can see all kinds of things, people's receipts, their purses, a shoe, somebody's glasses, their driver's license. You hear recordings of people who were calling their loved ones because they didn't think they were going to make it out alive, and all kinds of things, you know, and they take you through a blow by blow as to what happened with each tower. And it's an intense exhibit. I've never seen anything like it. There's only been only like maybe one or two other museums that have got me in all like that, and that was one, and it was the African American Museum in Memphis that got me too. So here we are, ground zero, and this is what it looks like when you see it from afar. It's like that. That's the space where the tower sat, and all along the wall is a waterfall. So looking at the word ground, you know, when I looked at the word ground zero, that simply means the center or origin of a rapid, intense, and in some cases, a violent change. That's the place, that's the center of something that just literally, completely caused your entire life to change, where your life altered. It's almost like a square one or the beginning, or as we like to say, a new beginning. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not always, you know, when we talk about shift, a lot of times it's not always just the shift. It's the things that causes what your normal everyday life pattern is to change. For instance, case in point, at this season of our lives, we've experienced the death in our family. Losing someone that you love is very hard, but learning how to live without them is even harder. So it causes your life to change where you have to adjust that you can't call them anymore, you know. And I don't know about you, Annette, but I have a hard time erasing people's phone numbers from my phone. Yeah. I still have Delphinia's phone number in my phone. I still have, like, you know, loved ones, even my mom's cell number, you know, different things. I still have their names in my phone. And then sometimes when I scroll through social media, I'll see certain names and I'll know that they're passed on. And when I'm trying to send stuff to people in bulk, I'll look and I'm like, oh, wow, Delphinia's not here anymore. Alan's no longer with us, you know, so I'll see the name, but I don't erase the name. But it doesn't mean that I haven't moved on. It just means that that's my one little thing that I hold on to, maybe an old voice message or something. Yeah. But when your life has changed, it causes you to get to a place where things are different. It's new. And a lot of us have experienced that, whether it's been in our lives, whether it's in business, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in the place that you are for your calling, where you thought you had it all together. And all of a sudden, you get something that completely disrupts, and it's like a rapid situation, and it's intense. And all of a sudden, there's change, and it takes you to ground zero. And a lot of times, the way we look at ground zero, we look at it as oh God, like all I've done is lost. Now I have to go and start all the way back over. No, that doesn't necessarily mean that. And we're going to walk through some things tonight. In some cases, in some cases, you might need a grenade to blow up everything, to cause you to start over, because some stuff you just don't want to let go of. But in some cases, it doesn't necessarily mean that. And then it's not a negative situation. We have to stop looking at it as negative, because change is good. Yeah. Change is good. So don't resist it. So that's my first thought that I'm going to share with you tonight, is just simply the word change. Just change. And when, I was looking at where I was going to bring my word in, because our topic is ground zero. So I was like, well, where am I going to get my word from out of that? So my word for tonight is change. And in this word, I'm bringing my tenses into my first point, which is transfer, and transform. Transfer and transform. When we look at the word change, I looked up the intransitive verb of this word, and it means to shift, almost like a conveyance, where you convey land from one owner to another or something like that. So it's a shift where things are different. They've transferred. You've transferred there's a certain energy or anointing or something that has transferred in you, and now you are not the same. You are in a changed state. There are things that happen that cause us to transfer. There's some people transfer to a beast, negative, they get so angry, they get bitter. And there's some things that cause us to transfer, we transfer our sadness can become anger, or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
or we can transfer our meekness and become, confrontational because you're just tired, So there's a lot of things that happen that causes us to convey into a different space. Now, the transitive verb means, which is transform, which means change in composition or structure, which means to convert. So when I had a friend who used to love to stop and preach to you about anything, type of person who got saved late in life or whatever. He just wanted to preach to everybody. He wanted everybody to be saved. And I remember visiting him when he was the uncle of one of my friends. We were visiting them in Alabama. And he had just talked to us with this same little sermon that he did. Every time you couldn't talk to him without him going in preacher mode. He said, yeah, I was fixing on this car, and my friend called me, and he said, I need you to take this Toyota, but I got a Mercedes engine. So I need you to convert it from a Toyota to a Mercedes on the inside. So you see how he started revving up, right?
Oh, you know that.
So on the inside, it might have been a Mercedes, and on the outside, it said Toyota. But because it's been converted, that on the inside, girl, he was going at it and talking about this thing about conversion. And I'm like, I said, that'll preach. And my friend was like, please don't egg him on. And I'm just listening. I'm like, that'll preach. I might have to steal that. And then I looked outside about 5 or 10 minutes later, and the brother of his, who they've been trying to get, he was coming up, and he used to hate to visit. He only came because my friend was there, and he was like, I just came to visit her. I don't want to talk to you. And we looked outside, and all of a sudden he had that leg up in the air. You got to be converted, or you gonna miss the race. Oh, he was going at it. And that was our running joke for a long time. But when I was studying this tonight, I was like, oh my God, this is just like he was saying how conversion, when you transform, you convert on the inside. So there's a change in composition or structure. It doesn't mean that I look necessarily so different on the outside, but the conversion on the inside causes everything I do to function differently. So because the Toyota was a Toyota on the outside, but on the inside, it was a Mercedes. So it ran like a Mercedes, it functioned like a Mercedes, and therefore it had better qualities than the outside appearing to be just a Toyota. So somebody may see you and you may appear to be the same person, but the way you function and the way you handle things are different. So that's what it means when we change. We have to understand that it's transfer and transform that's taking place. That's the two tenses of the verb: to transfer, to shift, almost like to convey, and to transform, change in composition or structure, which means to convert. So that's our word for tonight. Now, the other thing I want to say to you is change the flats.
Oh.
I hate a flat tire. You ever had a flat tire?
Yeah.
Isn't it annoying to have a flat tire?
Yes, very.
Oh my gosh. Especially back in the day when, there was nobody to call, no roadside assistance, hardly. There was AAA and very few people had it. And if you had a flat, you either had to find somebody you knew who could get down there and get those lug nuts off. It would take about an hour sometimes just to change the flat. But I want you to understand something about your attitude, because a lot of times when we look at change, we look at it so negatively. But your perspective or your attitude might be what's keeping you down. Because if you're down about your change, if you're down about, things transferring or transforming in your life, and remember, it's not a bad thing. Change is good. Change means that you're growing. So when you
Yeah.
get to that point and you have the perspective, oh God, I'm changed. I don't even want to do it anymore. And then your whole attitude is flat. So I'm just here to tell you to change the flat, because attitude is like a flat tire. You can either change it or you can just stay where you are,
That's
because you
right.
can't move with a flat tire.
No.
So either you're going to change the flat or you're not going to be able to move. And I don't know about you, but I want to move. I want things in my life to have motion. I want to be about something. I don't want to be in a position where my whole life, like for instance, a lot of us have spent the whole year working at something, and we
Yeah.
might not quite be there. But because we have experienced change, and I know all of us have, because we're entering a whole new decade, there is no
Yeah.
way that we won't experience change. You're going to experience change. We're at the end of the year. We're in the countdown.
Sure is.
And a lot of us are at ground zero right now. And we're experiencing change. And remember, if you don't change your perspective on it, then it's going to continue to hold you back. You're going to sit right there on that flat tire. So I want you to change the flat. And I want you to type that in. Change the flat. Just type in change the flat. Because a lot of times, if we don't tell ourselves, you know what, I'm going to do better. You know what, I'm going to make this happen. You know what, I'm going to start talking positive. You know what, I'm going to make things different. If you don't start telling yourself to change that flat, guess what? You're gonna sit there and still have a flat.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not gonna have somebody that can stop and change it for you. So you got to get down and you got to roll up your sleeves. You got to get dirty yourself, or you're gonna stay right where you are.
Wow.
My third thing is
Good analogy.
the knowledge and foolishness encounter. See, this is where change happens. I used to hear someone say a long time ago, there's a thin line between faith and foolishness. And there's an even thinner line between knowledge and foolishness. Because we'll think we know, and we've tapped into the foolish sides of our character, and we won't allow the knowledge to prevail. But when knowledge and foolishness encounter, change happens, because knowledge overpowers the foolishness.
Wow.
So I want to encourage you to allow that encounter and to do away with the foolishness, and let wisdom and knowledge be what takes you past the process that you are right now. Because when you enter into a new decade, you got to start off running. You can't go into this thing guessing. By now, we should know what we're going to do in 2020.
That's right.
You should have an idea of how each month is going to kind of run. And if you haven't done it, take the time and do it.
That's right.
Take the time now. That's why we're doing it all month. We're going to be dealing with this. That's why we're doing this now. We want to encourage people to allow themselves the time and the focus to put together your plan. Granted, you didn't get everything done last year, did you? No, but guess
No.
what? It doesn't mean that you're not closer to the finish line. You just have to continue the process. But you got to get rid of the foolishness, because that is only when change happens. And my last thing is, consistent positive steps is what's going to make it happen. Because you have been consistent, if you're consistent with something positive, because you are consistent, you are building endurance. And we say so often, the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one who endures to the end. So that consistency in your grind is what's going to pay off. Now, don't expect it to pay off if you've been sitting on a flat all year. So if your tire has been flat for 6 months, then change it, allow the encounter of knowledge and foolishness, and get back to your consistency.
That's right.
You can't expect something out of nothing. So if you have a car that's sitting on flat tires, it's just sitting in the yard and it's collecting dust and the grass is growing up around it. Nothing's going to happen until you inflate those tires and you try to turn the engine and try to move the car. And that's the same thing with you. It's just change. It's change. It's not the end of the world. It's just change. That's what it is. It's a transfer and a transformation, a transference and a transformation, a shift and a conversion. That's what you have. Shift and conversion.
I like that.
Okay. Whew.
They wore you out. They wore you out. All right. Flying while grounded. Oh, I was really thinking about what happens with a plane when it can't land. There's some things that happen with a plane that can't land. And a lot of times we're flying in our minds, but we're really grounded. We have not really got to the point we need. We think we got it going on. we think we got everything together, but we're mentally saying we're flying, but we're really grounded. And what I was thinking about, Anita, I was thinking about some of the things that cause a flight to not be grounded. You know, they can't land. There's some things that cause them not to be able to land. They have to keep circling and circling until they get the okay to land. And that's how I look even at our lives. Because one of the things that I see with is traffic. You know, a lot of times the plane cannot land because there's other planes and other traffic, there's other things that's in the way. And so you have to understand in life that there will be traffic, you know, but remember, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, there's some things, you know, keep you, make it seem like you can't make it. You know, so the traffic, if you ever been in traffic, especially in bigger cities and even in Daytona now, you know, you in traffic, you become bumper to bumper, and you know, and how you get so irritated, and you know, and this is what happened in our life. We're flying and we're really irritated because, you know, we're caught up in traffic. We're caught up in some stuff that we should not be caught up in. We're trying to fly, and a lot of times you're trying to fly too soon. And I say that because that's what happened with us. We took out. We was that bird. It was flapping, and we were trying to fly. And it was all right to fly, but it was not time for us to fly that high. And so we had to realize that even though we thought we was flying, we really was grounded, because then we could not get to the place we needed to be because we were out of line and out of place. We got off the wheel, in other words, you know. So so you have to understand, and with the traffic, you got to recognize your action. You know, if you ever been in traffic, oh my gosh, it can be so annoying. And so you got to make sure that you don't get caught up, and then, you know, you bumping your horn, and, you know, then this road rage, and that's how life is. If you're not careful, you know, there's road rage, and there's some things going on, and you can't seem like you can't make it because you're caught up. So you have to know that you it look like you're flying, but you're really grounded. And also, it's congestion. You know, congestion is a life problem. Congestion is a crowd, and it blocks you from doing stuff. If you ever been in a traffic, I went to one of the worst places I ever been to with traffic was Atlanta. Oh my gosh. It was bad traffic. Congestion. It's crowds, and
Atlanta, Boston, and Los Angeles.
Yeah, it blocks you from getting to the place you need to be. And so that's how life is. You know, you have emotional problems getting you to get in the way of you getting to where you need to be. You know, you have marital problems, you have financial problems, you know, because of the congestion of life. And you have to be careful that you don't allow this to consume you, because when I'm in congestion, like when I was in Atlanta, I started to be a little fidgety because I was ready to go. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then people were cutting in and out and blowing their horns and irritated. And that's how life is. You know, you got life problems over here. Time you think you got it right over here, something else happens. But you got to learn how, through all your congestion, how to find inner peace. You got to really, even in the car, even with the blowing the horn and people going in and out, you have to learn how to breathe and say, you know, I'm not going to allow this to get in my way. You got to eliminate the negativity. You know, this, I'm talking about life while you're flying, but you're really grounded.
Right.
You know? You got to find love and passion. You know, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. You got to improve your ability to focus on your creativity. Because if you're not careful, life will happen, and you'll get caught up in days that keep going by, and days that keep going by. Like you said, we're almost to the end of the year. And what have we done? You know, because life is causes congestion, but not only that, it's poor weather. This is why the plane can't land. You know, you're really grounded, but in your head, you're flying, you know, but you're really grounded, but it's a poor weather. And if you ever, one time I only been in snow one time I was excited. Oh, when it's gonna snow. I come on excited. It's gonna snow. Then after what I was like, okay, I'm ready to go because this is no fun. Because in poor weather, you know, when it's raining and icy roads, you got to slow down. And so I'm letting you know, tonight you got to learn how to slow down, calm yourself. You got to avoid tailgating. In other words, you got to try to stop riding other people's tailgate. And what I mean by that, stop trying to be like somebody else. You be who you are. You know, so we're so busy trying to be somebody else. I wrote a quote. One of the hardest things I had to do is learn how to be me. And so once I perfected me, man, that made my life so much easier. You know, that also when you are driving, when it's snowing, you don't brake during a turn. You have to be very careful when it's snowing because there's a certain way you have to drive, you know, because it may cause a spin out. And so I'm here to let you know tonight, don't let life cause you to spin out, to get out of control, to get out of whack, to not be able to do the things that you've been called to do. So the poor weather, you know, you're flying, but you're really grounded. But in your head, you're flying. But not only that, sometimes there's no runways unavailable. Sometimes in life, the runway is unavailable because when I was studying about the runway, you know, you see all these movies about these planes landing. None of that stuff is real. No, you're not going to land just like some of that stuff. No, it don't work like that. You know, sometimes the runway could be short and especially in an emergency situation, the plane have to circle and they have to make sure when they do land that they have enough room. And sometimes we're trying to land and we really don't have enough room. We don't have enough room to go forward and do what we've been called to do, but we're trying to land, you know. And sometimes we overshoot the landing. Have you ever been in life where you overshoot it? You thought you had it together.
Thought you had
overshoot the landing.
God.
You know, we overshoot it because what happens is we already come up with ideas and that's fine, you know. The Bible said, write the vision, make it plain, you know. But sometimes we overshoot. We get so excited about our ministry, about our organization that we overshoot it. And also, not only we have to listen to the tower. We fail because we don't listen to the tower. The tower give you instructions. They tell you when you can land, when you can't land. They tell you what way to go. And we have to make sure that we follow instructions. That's why it's so important, whatever your vision, your dreams, your organization, make sure that you have instructions. Because when we put these on Wednesdays, when we put this together, the PowerPoint, there are instructions. We make sure that it's structured in such a way that it don't look like we just flying off the cuff, you know, so it makes sense. So you have to make sure that you have instructions, that because now again, you're really flying in your head, but you're really grounded. So again, you're really flying in your head because you know we think. You say, as a man thinking, so is he. But sometimes we're thinking, I'm not saying we shouldn't think big, but sometimes we're flying in our head and we're really grounded. So that's why we have to step back sometime and really look and see where we are. So we make sure that we get to the place that we need to be. So we're flying. We're flying neither in our head, but we're really grounded.
Really grounded.
We're really grounded. We're not there yet. We got some issues. We got some congestion, some traffic power, poor weather. So we're really flying in our head, but we're really grounded. And so that's it for that, flying while grounded. Because I know it was sort of like an oxymoron. It didn't really make sense when you think about how you flying and grounded, you know. But anyway, hold on, I'm coming. I was thinking about this song, some Motown singer sung it. Hold on, I'm coming. I said, oh man, but what are you holding on for? I'm holding on because purpose is coming. Purpose is coming. It don't look like it. Sometimes it don't look like you're going to make it. You know, we're still talking about ground zero because, you know, we're here, don't like we can make it. But I declare to you, if you hold on, it's coming. Purpose is on the way. First, we must be able to embrace your space. Every exit in life is an entrance to somewhere. You got to be present and you got to live in the moment. We got to stop comparing ourselves to each other. There's nothing wrong to see what other people are doing, but figure out what you've been called to do. Because there's a lot of people that do what we do, but they don't do it how we do it. So we have to learn how to embrace where we are and appreciate where we are, because we know where we are is just temporary. We know where we are, it's coming. So that's why we're holding on to purpose, and we're embracing our space, and we're walking in our victory. And see, we're embracing our space simply because a lot of times we don't have as many people as we would like to have on here, but we embrace our space because we
Right.
know eventually it's going to change.
Exactly.
So we learn how to be thankful for where we are. So when it does change, we give God the glory just the same. So we embrace our space. We're believing what we know to be true. And so we've learned how to hold on and believe. And see, let me tell you something about holding on before I go any further. Because we have held on all this time, we've seen some changes just in this year. Just in this year, we could have easily threw in the towel months ago when I went down south. But we've seen changes with the books and other things. So learn how to embrace your space, appreciate it. It don't look like God is moving, but God is just like a seed. Because when you plant a seed in the ground, you don't see it working, but it's working. And so that's how we have to know to embrace our space. Hold on and believe. Not only that, we have to know we have to be too legit to quit. I couldn't resist.
Too legit to quit.
I want to run across if I'd have had me some certain type of little pants, I probably ran across and let y'all see me do my dance, But anyway, too legit to quit simply means don't stop. You have purpose. Don't stop. That's simply what he's saying. Continue. Don't give up or give in. It's saying you're the real deal. You're legitimate. So what we're doing, I look at the movement as legitimate, as the real deal. We are for real. We're not going to stop. Even if just me or Anita, we just talk to each other.
Right.
We just talk to each other because what we believe is, even though it may not be a lot of people on here, it does not mean that a lot of people won't see this.
Exactly.
So you don't know who you're blessing. You don't know. And Anita can attest, she's had people that came to her and, ask about it and want to see it, and they've been blessed. Mm-hmm. So don't stop your purpose. Hold on. Change is coming, as Nita said earlier. Hold on to purpose. Hold on and believe that regardless of what, you're going to make it. Mm-hmm. So, it's great doing what you've been called to do. It's a wonderful feeling to know that you've been called to do a certain thing and to do it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will die never walking in their calling, never walking in what they've been called to do, never believing that they could do it or they can do it. So, just know that you're too legit to quit. Not only that, you have to socialize and live. You have to know that you cannot walk this road by yourself.
Joe can't.
You can't. You need somebody. I don't care how gifted you are. I don't care how wonderful you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who your friend. You have to know that you got to socialize and you got to learn how to live. So you have to learn how to forgive people. You got to learn how to say no. You got to learn how to see life differently. You need to change your glasses. Because if you're still seeing life the same way you saw life 10 years ago, that means that you need to change your vision. You need to get on some more glasses and look, because life changes and so should you. So we have to look at life different. We have to learn how to set goals, and we have to learn how to give. You have to learn how to give to others, give through your time, sometimes even give through your money. You have to pray with people, laugh with people, cry when they cry. So you have to learn how to really love on people. And I was thinking about your friend, how he lost his wife. So, you had to, some kind of way, even though you lost your brother, you had to step back and say, now I still got to love on him. Yeah, I'm going through this, because you have to learn how to love on people, even when you're hurting, even when you're disillusioned, even when you want to give up, even when you give out sometimes. So you have to learn how to give and give of yourself and give of your time, because hold on, change is coming. And not only that, finally, you have to rehearse for your future. And of course, I have something I want to share with you, and it's called a DISH method. It's DISH, and each one stands for something. Rehearse for a DISH. Simply, the D stands for decide what you really want. Have you decided what you really want? Have you really looked at your life and say, this is what I've been called to do? I know I do this and that, but this is what I've been called to do. Yeah, I can sing, I can preach, I can prophesy, I can lay hands, I can do it, but decide what you have been called to do? Those are things that you do, but are those the things that you've been destined and you've been called to do? And there's a difference. You can do a lot of things, but what is that thing that you know without a shadow of a doubt, I've been called for this? So you have to decide what you really want to do. And second is inform. Inform is inform and investigate your decision. So once you decide what you've been called to do, then you need to investigate, and you need to and get information and decide what okay, this is what I've been called to do. Now I'm going to do my research. I'm going to go out and see what other people are doing, how the movement is doing this. So okay, what there are other organizations out there. So you're trying to find out, we need finances, we need to go to the next level. So what you do, you investigate, inform yourself of what you've been called to do. But also next is share. You have to share your decision with others. You have to, you got to trust somebody enough. I'm not saying go around and tell your vision to everybody, but you got to trust somebody enough to say, this is what I believe that I've been called to do. And I'm gathering information, and now I'm sharing this with you. And hopefully with sharing that information with that person, they can help you get to the next level. Like when we first started, there were some things I didn't know how to do. And so you shared that information with me, and that helped me get to the another level, not just with the movement, but also in my personal ministry. When I sit out quotes, they look professional. They don't look like I just jumble up something. So that's why you have to share. And next is, and finally, is to hang on or hold on to your decision, because there will be times when other people will not agree with you. There will be naysayers. There may be haters. And actually, like I always like to say, one of the greatest haters that I know is the one that I see in the mirror. I know we always say, oh, they just hating on me. Now, sometimes you're hating on yourself, but you got to believe enough, and you got to hold on to your decision. And even when it don't look good and it don't look favorable, and you don't see anything happening, the book is not finished, and you don't have the money to publish it, but you got to hold on, because you got to know that this is what I've been called to do. Right. So just know that there's a dish method that you have to follow to rehearse for your future, because you got to believe, and you got to know that you got to hold on. I'm coming, and I'm coming. That means purpose is on this way.
I was thinking about a song when you were doing your screen, the song "The Sounds of Blackness." Hold on, coming. Hold on, don't worry about a thing. Hold on.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like that.
You can make it. Yeah, that was a good record. But that's the thing. That's where we have to be. It's like when we have to hold on to purpose, because purpose is coming. Change is coming. And either you're in change or change is coming. And change is coming out of the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
But then sometimes we just end up in change, and we have to embrace where we are. We have to embrace that space, not quit, live, decide to live, and just put on that practice face for the future, man. Because then, let me tell you, if we learn that change is going to produce something more positive, if we would only just hold on to that.
Yeah.
And then we will start to see those results. But, a lot of times we give up because it is hard. Life is hard.
Yeah, especially when you don't see nothing happening.
Exactly. It can get
tough.
Gosh. It can be tough, especially when you're going after what you know that you're supposed to do.
And I know. And Anita, I did this plant. I had this plant that Lena gave me. It died, right? Like, womp womp. And so finally we replanted, and now like I could see it budding, because I could have easily threw that plant away because I didn't see the evidence of what was going on. But now that plant is beautiful. It really is.
Threw away a papaya tree that had been left on my neighbor's porch. And I was like, why did you throw it away? She said, because it was dead. I said, no, it would have sprouted again. It would have grown leaves. How about in a whole nother pot, this papaya plant that started growing in another pot where you didn't even plant it? And the same thing I saw too with, how you buy the basil out of the store that's in a little flower pot? Brenda bought a flower pot of basil about maybe a month or two ago because it was cheaper than buying the basil in the little package. She said, I just bought the little plant. And so we used that basil for our recipes that day. And it was a little bit left, so I put it outside, and the basil started dying. So I was like, oh, it's just going to die. I came home the other day, and the plant had toppled over, and it's a little sprig of basil still alive in there. I just pulled the plant up, put the dirt back in, and just sat it up on the thing. And I'm like, well, let me just see if this just gonna grow. And sometimes it will just start to grow again. But if if I had pruned away those dead leaves myself,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have died to the point that it just had to kind of rebirth.
Yeah.
And that's what happens sometimes. We don't take care of that situation when we're in that holding pattern, and we don't prune and we don't embrace where we are. And there's so much life still there, so we can't give up.
Yeah, you said something so powerful, Anita, and I don't even think you caught it. With the papaya tree, you had to change the pot.
Oh, wow.
Which caused the growth. And you talked about change earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to change.
That pot, I guess some seed fell over in that other pot, a pot that we weren't even using for that. And it's just growing in a whole nother pot. I was like, and it's big too. So that's something. All righty. Good stuff. Good stuff. And all of that brings us right here. We enter into a new season. And that's what we're going into, people.
Yeah.
And I want to see the next decade of my life prosper. I want to see good things. I want to have fun. I want to live. I want to do things. I want to have balance in my life. And I want to be about the business that I'm supposed to be about in this next decade. But the thing is, what we don't realize, a lot of times we be like, "Ooh, it's a new season. It's a new season. Ooh, it's a new season." We just very loosely talk about being in a new season. But with seasons, when you look at how seasons change, it's not always pretty when the seasons change.
True.
Yes, it's pretty in some states when in the fall, where the leaves turn brown and red and yellow, and it's beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then after a while, the leaves fall off of the tree and the trees don't look so pretty. And then you have the winter months where it's cold and lonely and dreary. And then when spring comes, that's when everything gets a little different. So seasons are not always, it always look great. But the thing is about seasons, we walk through seasons to prepare for levels.
Wow.
When we're walking through those seasons where there's change, where there's something different, we're being prepared for a whole new level. So even though I understand where I am, that this is change for me on so many levels, but I also know that God is entering me into a new season, because when I start to see things like this happen around my life, and how, like you said, how I had to, on the morning of my brother's funeral, I had to stay up on the phone at night with my friend who lost his wife, who was my dear friend. So, but I put aside myself, and I wasn't even like being selfish. I was like, wow, because he needed me at that time. And I'm like, why is all of this happening like back to back? It just seems like around the holidays, it's always a loss, and it's double. Because the year that my mom passed away 2 years ago, she passed away in November, and Dorothea passed away in December. So it was back to back, and it was both during a holiday.
Yeah.
And it just, and so I started looking at life, and I remember I was sitting and just, how we start pining and sulking, and I'm like, oh, here I go into a whole nother year, and I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have no money, I don't have blah, 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 I don't have blah. And I want to do this. All I want to do, I was having me a good old pity party in there. All I want to do. And so very plainly, I heard the voice of God say, do you have everything on paper? Do you have everything mapped out? And I don't. A lot of it is here. Yes, I have a lot of stuff on paper, but I don't have everything mapped out. If I was asked to pitch my plan today, I'm not ready. So instead of complaining, get ready and embrace walking through the season, because when it's time for me to make my pitch, I'm already prepared for the next level. And that's what we have to put ourselves in mindset for. All of you are going to another level. Type that in, another level, another level. You're going to another level. Whether you want to or not, it's coming. It's upon you. It's inevitable. We all gonna see it. How we deal with it is another story. But all of us are going to another level, somehow or another. Next thing is, hold on a second, let me get my little, every time I pull my phone down, I have my notes on the side here. Next thing we have to understand is that because of the fact that we're walking through this season, expansion is on the horizon. And this is what we were talking about earlier. It's funny how we went there, because pruning is what allows the growth. We may have to cut back on some things right now. We might have to minimize some stuff right now. We may have had to go back to the drawing board right now. We may have had to revisit some ideas right now. We may not have money for the studio right now, but what we do have, man, this computer going through conniptions. But what we do have is that we have the pruning process, and we have to cut away and chip away. Maybe you have too much stuff in some areas and you need to lighten the load, or maybe you have too many people trying to attach them to what you're doing. And maybe you don't have the right people that you need to attach, the right fertilizer, the right type of people that are going to feed into your vision, who are going to encourage you and not discourage you and not take away from you in this season. So your season is to get everything in order and start pruning and getting everything ready. Just like my niece cut her hair. She was like, "Oh, I just love my little short haircut," because sometimes, you have to cut away that dead stuff in order for the hair to grow. In order for the hair to be able to breathe and your scalp and everything to be nurtured and your hair to be healthier, you have to cut away the dead. And so I want us to get to the point to understand that once we have pruned and walked through that season, expansion is what's coming. It's going to be bigger, so you need to make sure that you have all your pots ready. You know how the lady had to go get all her little pots ready for the rain. Go and get all of your pots ready. Go ahead and move your little goal posts, move your posts, enlarge your territory, and get prepared for the fact that everything is going to grow. It's inevitable, and you have to believe it. You have to know it. You have to know where you are and know what's coming. The other thing is, a lot of times we try to hold on to what was. We try to keep everything in yesterday mode. We try to keep everything, well, this how I used to do it. Well, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stay right here. I'm not going to make no waves. I'm just going to be nice to my boss, and I'm just going to do my work, and I'm going to just stay right here, and I'm not going to ever make any moves. I'm not blah, 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 blah. And then sometimes, we want to, we get into that rut, and we're fighting, and it's not necessarily a fight against, but we're fighting to hold on. And my point is, don't fight the old, build the new. Get out of that tug of war with the old. My niece and my aunt, God rest her soul, I came home one day and they had a pair of stretch pants stretched from one side of the living room to the other, fighting over them. She wanted to wear these pants that she had worn for 3 days. And my niece was determined. She is not putting these back on. She needs to put on some clean shorts, which I agreed with her because she had given her a bath. But she was old and she had dementia. But they were fighting over those shorts. It was the funniest thing in the world to me. But they fought over those shorts, and neither one of them wanted to let go. And I'm like, and I finally had to step in the middle and just grab them from both ends. And I said, y'all stop fighting over these shorts. I'm going to put them in the washing machine, and I'm going to give you back your shorts. But she didn't register that, that I was taking them from her. She registered that I was going to give them back to her. And so she reconciled. They said, thank you, as if she had won, right? But when you can get somebody to embrace the new, because the new was, I'm going to put these in the washing machine with some laundry detergent and some fabric softener and a dryer sheet, and they're going to smell good, and I'm going to give them back to you tomorrow when they're clean. So that was the new situation that I was presenting to her. So a lot of times our old situation is so dreary and messed up, but we're in a tug of war to hold on to it. And it could be all the way over the side of a cliff. And then we are hanging on the side, trying to pull that rope up, trying to keep the old. But don't fight the old. Don't fight against what the old taught you, and don't fight to hold on to it. Concentrate on building the new. It's a new season, and you're going to the next level. So it's time to let go and time to build. And because the thing is, yesterday already happened. Yep. But tomorrow is what's promised. And I want promise. I don't want what was, I want what will be. Because right now I'm doing what is so that I can have what will be for me. And what was got me to where I am. So I can let that go, rest assured that it served its purpose, and I can look in the rearview mirror and be like, all right, I'll see y'all, peace, and keep going towards what is to come. Because I don't want what already happened. I want the new thing. And my last thing is, because, and this is a hard thing for some people to do, because we just don't know. And when we don't know, we get so frightened. But we have to learn to embrace uncertainty. Uncertainty is unsettling, but when you know that you're in the right place, when you know you're right where you're supposed to be, and when you know what you're supposed to do, uncertainty just means that you're learning and that you're figuring things out. Because a lot of times we want to place a label or something on stuff without even really knowing what it is. And me and Annette tried that. Oh, we tried to just force it to work right now, and it wasn't designed to work right then. Mm-mm. And we had to learn to embrace the uncertainty because we didn't know what to do, and what we needed to do was all the stuff that we didn't know what to do. And now that we spent this past year doing what needed to be done, in the new decade, we can come out with a bang with stuff that we have already prepared last year, because we did the work this past year to put ourselves into place to be ready for where we're going. And a lot of stuff, it doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a face yet. But guess what? It's an uncertain territory, but we know that it's promise. And there's a quote that said, some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until later.
All right now.
We may have the chapters, and I was thinking about it when I wrote my book that I'm in the process now, is in editing. When I wrote that book, there were 2 chapters that I did not have titles for. And I had to write the information. I knew what the chapters were about, but I did not have a title that fit the chapter. And sometimes that happens with songs. Sometimes it happens with sermons. And I'm sure sometimes it happens with quotes and poems. Where you'll write something, you'll have the thought, but when you're looking for the right words that describe it, you don't get that until later. Yeah. You don't get the name of the company sometimes. You don't get the name of the movement or the church until it has been embedded in your spirit that you've actually lived past some things. And now you know what all of that meant, why all of that was designed for this season. So we have to just embrace the uncertainty. We don't know everything. The Bible says that we only know in part. Mm-hmm. We're not going to know everything about every point, about everything in our lives. We're just not. That's just not how God works. We're only going to know in part, but in due season, when it's time, when we have reached the level of maturity, then we will know, certain things. And there are some things that we'll know when we get to heaven. So I'm content with that. So I've learned over the years to embrace the uncertain territory, and it does not scare me. Why? Because I know who put me there. Of course, there's sometimes we put ourselves in situations where we shouldn't be, but guess what? The same person who put me where I know I'm supposed to be, or put you where you know you're supposed to be, will take you out of where you're not supposed to be if you allow him. So you still don't have to worry about it. So just embrace uncertainty, because you'll never know what you can achieve until you actually take the leap of faith. That's right. You will never know what can happen until you actually go and start the corporation, or until you actually go and record the song and put it out. I know people who have 600 songs. I said, well, they ain't doing nobody no good on your computer. You playing them for me, but the world don't know. And you could have put that song out and helped somebody in this season. Oh, I wrote a song about that. Remember when such and such happened? I wrote a song about it. Yeah, but you didn't put it out. It ain't helped nobody. So you have to embrace uncertainty. You have to embrace that moment where it feels like you're walking on that tightrope, because yes, it's a new season, and yes, the leaves are wilted, and yes, the trees are looking a little bare, and yes, it might be cold, and they talked about the snow, how she hated the snow. It might be snow on the ground. You might be slipping and sliding in the snow and can't wait for the sun to come. And when it starts to get warmer, you got the showers, you got the rain that's coming, that's going to water everything, that's going to bloom and blossom. So once you get through those seasons and it's like, oh, wow, then you can have your little picnic. It was worth the ride through the uncertainty that you embraced.
Yes, yes.
So, hey, let me tell you, that's the thing, man, with Ground Zero. Even though there were many lives that were lost in New York. There were many lives. And I'm telling you, the impact was incredible for years and years. And me having visited the memorial, it really like took it to a whole nother level for me. I have a whole new understanding as to the devastation that not only the people who were involved in the terrorist attack, the families and the people who lost their lives, and the people who were the first responders, but just the people in that city and how that city would just had a huge hole in it. And just in life in general, just that whole impact, and that many lives were lost and people were just going to work to do what they normally do. So Ground Zero can come and it can be disastrous. It can be violent. It cannot be violent. It could be anything. We don't know what is coming with that Ground Zero experience when change comes upon us. But the one thing that we do know is that when it comes, there's that transfer and transformation.
Yeah, yeah.
There's transference and there's transformation that happens. And we convert and we convey, and that's what we just have to understand. Yes, it's different. Yes, I'm in a whole new place. I don't understand why this happened to me. I don't understand how I got here. But the one thing I do know is that there's a conveyance of the land. There's something that God is switching in me, and then he's converting me on the inside at the same time. That's what change means. Woo, Lord have mercy. That was good. I love that. I love the whole idea of that conversation. It was very enlightening.
Yeah, me too.
Very enlightening. So, I mean, of course, Ebony and Sharon know if they want to say something, they can unmute themselves. We know Carrie ain't. But they can unmute themselves. But for the people who may see this in the future, I really hope that it helps somebody the way it has helped you and I and everybody else who's listening. Because this is where we are. It's the end of the year. It's the end of a decade. You realize a decade ago, we were 10 years younger. A decade ago, I was just entering my 40s. And so I look back over the decade like, wow, that's crazy. So I am entering into the 6th decade. I wrote about the 5th decade, so I can't be writing about the 5th decade. It took me 10 years to get that 5th decade book out, that 5-decade book out. You understand what I'm saying? See, it's for the season of now.
Yeah.
When God gives you something, it's for the moment that he gives it to you. You have to release it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something with it. So it can't take me 10 years to put that out. It can't take you 10 years when God has gotten you to this point where you are now.
Exactly.
Where you're in the most certain place that you've been in your life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. True.
Ain't that something?
True.
Wow. All right, good people. Well, we thank you all so much for joining us. It has been a great discussion yet again. And I'm going to stop our recording now so that we can